The Red Sea crossing, one of the greatest supernatural events recorded in the Old Testament, where God delivers the Israelites from the armies of Egyptians. For the Israelites, there seemed to be no path when they stood in front of the Red Sea, but exactly when there seemed to be no path, God created a path by parting the Red Sea. So it's such a beautiful event in the Old Testament. But if this event is true, and in modern world we know where the Red Sea is, where did this exactly take place? Do we have evidence? And what are the archaeological evidences we have to prove that the Israelites crossed the Red Sea? Hello everyone, this is Michelle, and today's episode we are gonna get all those questions answered. Come, let's get started. The location of the Red Sea, where the Israelites exactly crossed, had become a debated topic. This is because some critics, just because they wanted to disprove this event, because we had seen the evidences for the Exodus to be true, they still wanted to disprove that the Israelites crossed the Red Sea. So, what they did is that they said the Israelites crossed the Red Sea in a shallow part where crossing was much easier and not in the deeper region. So, what we are going to see is from where did the Israelites travel, in which way they went, and we are going to look at the evidences to see if they really crossed the shallow or the deep location of the sea. So, first we need to understand from where the Israelites were delivered. In Genesis chapter 47, verse 27 says, So Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions there, and grew and multiplied exceedingly. So, according to this verse, the Israelites dwelt in the country of Goshen. Now, take a look at this map. The topmost, northmost part, where the entire territory looks green than the other areas around, this is the country of Goshen, and this is where the Israelites grew and multiplied exceedingly. So, when they were delivered from the hands of Egyptians, approximately there were around 25 to 30 lakh people. Huge crowd, right? So from there, now this is where God leads them to the land of Canaan, which is the promised land. Now there are actually two routes to reach the land of Canaan. One, if we read Exodus chapter 13, verse number 17, we can see that then it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest perhaps the people change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt. So here we can see that there is a route called the way of the Philistines, and in verse 18 there is another route mentioned. So God led the people around by the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up in orderly ranks out of the land of Egypt. So here there is another way mentioned called as the way of wilderness, and you can clearly see that God did not lead them by the way of Philistines, because he says they might get tired of war and they might return to Egypt. So rather, he leads them through the way of wilderness. Now, again, take a look at this map. So the way of Philistines is the route which is in the north part, which is actually a short route, but rather the way of wilderness is a longer route which goes through the south part. And only in this route, the Israelites will have to cross the Red Sea. And according to verse number 18, this is the path through which God leads the Israelites. All right. Now, if the Israelites had come through the way of wilderness, so they might have crossed the Red Sea at one point of location, right? That is what the scripture says. But the debate is that some people, some critics claim that the Israelites crossed the Red Sea at the Suez finger of Red Sea and not the Aqaba finger. The Suez finger is actually a place where the water is very shallow that anyone can just walk over it, but rather the Aqaba finger is where actually the sea is very deep. Now let's take a look at the map again. The Suez finger is at the top west part where the water part is too small, and the Aqaba finger we can see at the right side of the map. This is where the water is actually deep. So now let us take a look at the evidences to understand from the scriptures that it was the Aqaba finger through which the Israelites crossed. First, we need to look at a verse in Exodus chapter 14, verse number 2. The verse says, Speak to the children of Israel that they turn and camp before Pihahiroth between Migdol and the sea opposite Baal Zephon. You shall camp before it by the sea. Now, in this verse, there is a very interesting word. We can see that the word turn is mentioned. Now, just think about this. To whom would we say the word turn? To a person who's going in a different direction, right? So, a person who is going in a particular direction, God is looking at the Israelites and asking them to turn, and then he's specifically mentioning them to camp between Migdol and the sea. And the verse at the last part, we can see that there they have to camp before it by the sea. So, this place, if we take a look at this map, it is very clear that geographically understanding, the Israelites must have camped in this beach, which is called as the Nuwaiba beach. Now, why we actually come to this conclusion is because the Nuwaiba beach is the only place in that entire terrain where 30 lakh people can camp at one single point. This is because no other place is having a flat terrain. This entire area is completely surrounded by mountains. And another part is that the Nuwaiba beach is having only one way. So, when the Israelites camp between Migdol and the sea at the Nuwaiba beach, they cannot go anywhere back. Now, we know the incident that the army of Egyptians were chasing the Israelites, and this is where the Israelites start murmuring, they start grumbling against Moses, saying that, did you bring us to kill in the wilderness rather than allowing us to die in Egypt? So, we all know that the Israelites were stuck, and exactly this location matches that incident because the Israelites have no other place to escape rather than going in the same way through which they came back. So, from based on all these verses and the geographical terrain, we can understand they had camped at this Nuwaiba beach. Now, when they turn, the only option which they see is crossing the Red Sea. And we know what happened in Exodus chapter 14, verse 21. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. So, when the Israelites were standing at the Nuwaiba beach, the waters get divided, and this is where the Israelites are actually crossing. All right, now this is all according to the scriptures and by matching to the geographical terrain what we have. Now, let us start looking at the archaeological evidences. The first evidence which we have is in this particular place, archaeologists have found wheels which has 8 spokes in it, and these are all chariot wheels. Now, we might wonder what is so special about an 8 spoke wheel chariot. This is because usually a chariot has 2 spoke wheel or 4 spoke or 6 spoke wheels, but in case if it is having an 8 spoke, then it is actually a special chariot which was uniquely used by the Egyptians. If we take a look at Exodus chapter 14, verse number 7, also he took 600 choice chariots and all the chariots of Egypt with captains over every one of them. Here the verse clearly says that the Pharaoh took 600 choice chariots. That means special one, which is unique. And back then, the Egyptians had the most powerful army and the most advanced tech which was available back then, which means that this chariot is very clear evidence that it belonged to the Egyptians. And yes, according to the scriptures, the Egyptian army was defeated inside the Red Sea after the Israelites had crossed, which shows that, yeah, the Israelites really did cross and the army of Egyptians had followed, but they were killed in the Red Sea itself. And that's what the archaeological evidence also proves when we take a look at it. The second evidence which we see is that from the Nuwaiba beach, if we cross, the other end is actually approximately 18 to 19 kilometers far, which is the Saudi Arabia beach. So, here at this point alone, the path, the sea road is actually entirely different. Usually, in a seabed, after a particular distance, the seabed would actually have trenches. That is, the seabed would go very deep, steeply, and then after a particular distance, it would again come up. So, basically, it would not be a flat way, not being very easy for any people to walk on. But amazingly, you know what? In this place, at the Nuwaiba beach, the slope actually gradually decreases by 5%, and after a particular distance, particular feet which has gone below the sea level, it again starts rising up. It looks beautifully like a path, and all other areas around this portion is deep and it has a lot of trenches except for this path alone. So what we understand from this is that the Israelites had a clear path for them to walk and cross the Red Sea. Still, it was deep. It was very deep, but it did not have trenches, which made easy for the Israelites to walk. And you know what? In Isaiah chapter 51, verse number 10, the verse says, "Are you not the one who dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep, that made the depths of the sea a road for the redeemed to cross over?" Now make note of these words, that made the depths of the sea a road. This verse perfectly matches and it gives us a new view when we take a look at the archaeological evidence, isn't it? What seemed to be the greatest problem had a path inside it. So, by this, we can clearly see that the Israelites did not cross the Red Sea in the shallow path, but rather it was the Aqaba finger where they had actually crossed the Red Sea, and we have perfect evidences to prove it. So, two conclusions based on these things which we need to learn. The first is that, yes, all the incidents which is mentioned in the Bible is true, and we have evidences for it. And on the spiritual side, which is the second thing, that is what might seem as a problem. It might look huge as a Red Sea, it might look impossible to cross, but we need to believe that there is a hidden path inside that Red Sea for us to cross. That's how God always leads us. If it's God's will, we'll see you next week with another episode of this weekly Pearl program. God bless you.